stories of the serial killer who murdered 26 people in Mumbai and Kolkata, India. The real identity of the serial killer known as Stone Man remains unknown, despite, for nearly 2 decades, striking fear into the hearts of the Indian citizens. The alleged first murder of the Stone Man was in Sion King's Circle in central Mumbai in the year 1985. After a certain hour of the day, the streets were vacant as police would drive up and down sensitive neighborhoods just to make sure the miscreants stayed off the streets. The Sion and King's Circle housed upper middle class families and were peaceful localities to live in and raise your children. The mere thought of a murder in these neighborhoods was unthinkable, let alone having a serial killer loose on the streets. Despite that, sometime in 1985, an unknown killer began to target homeless people in the area. As with all big cities, several homeless people will find a corner on the street and spend the night there before starting work all over again the next morning. This crowd being ripe for the Stone Man's targeting. Cases of homeless people's skulls being smashed by large stones started to emerge, with the police having no idea as to who was responsible for this. Every other day, there will be news reports about a homeless person being killed in their sleep by a large stone. The police hypothesized that the murderer was a large man, since the stones would typically weigh up to 30 kilos. The only common threads between these murders was the fact that they were homeless, killed in their sleep, and with a large stone. There was seemingly no motive and certainly no evidence left behind. At their wits' end, the Mumbai police did what they could, rounding up people that fit the description of the murderer. The murders stopped. However, they weren't able to make the charges stick to any of the arrested suspects. In any case, the murder spree, which had now claimed over a dozen lives, came to an end in 1988, but that was just in Mumbai. The following year, Kolkata began witnessing a similar series of murders with the same modus operandi. The victims were pavement dwellers and were killed in the same manner as the victims in Mumbai. This continued till the end of the year, before the murders stopped as suddenly as they begun. The Kolkata police were unable to catch the murderer, who would commit his crimes after midnight or just before dawn. It was concluded that Stone Man was a psychological maniac. He most likely either died or had been convicted of some other crime, resulting in him being in prison. In any case, more than 30 years later, no one can say with certainty just who the Stone Man killer was or what exactly happened to him. Next story is of one of the US's most infamous serial killers, the Zodiac Killer. Near San Francisco during the 1960s to 70s, Zodiac murdered at least 5 people, often couples in secluded areas. His first victim was Cherry Jo Bates. He wrote a confession about her, including a message to beware. Began sending coded messages to the police through various newspapers after his first murder. He signed these letters with a circle and a plus sign over it, which was his trademark symbol. He sent an infamous cipher to the police, asking if they had cracked his last code yet, revealing his name. It was a series of 13 symbols that was supposed to be his name, encoded. To this day, this code has still not been cracked. The Zodiac case still remains open and unsolved. Although suspects have come forward and continue to come forward to this day, no one has been confirmed as the actual Zodiac Killer. The killer himself has claimed to have killed as many as 37 people, despite intensive investigation and multiple theories pertaining to the killer's identity. No one was ever caught for the crimes, and the case remains open. The mystery surrounding the murders has been subject to numerous books and movies. Between October 1977 and February 1978, 10 young women were killed and tortured in the hills of Los Angeles, California. The media dubbed the killer the Hillside Strangler. The killers were later revealed to be cousins Angelo Bono Jr. and Kenneth Bianchi. In 1976, Bianchi moved from Rochester, New York, to Los Angeles to live with his cousin, and the pair quickly developed to kidnapping and killing. The obsession stemmed from the speculation that no one would truly miss young women if they suddenly disappeared. During their 4-month spree, the pair kidnapped women, brought them back to Bono's house, tortured them, then killed them. always by strangulation. The cousins would wash the body of evidence and dispose them in various locations around LA, usually on the hillsides. Crimes in LA stopped when Bianchi moved to Washington State. While up north, he was unable to suppress his murderous urges, and he killed 2 college students. The similarities in the Bellingham, Washington cases to those of the Hillside Strangler, coupled with witnesses' statements connecting Bianchi to the 2 dead women, led to his subsequent capture and arrest. During his interview, he claimed to have dissociative identity disorder. This was proved false by psychologists. He ultimately pled guilty to his crimes and revealed the name of his partner in order to escape capital punishment. Both men were sentenced to life imprisonment for their crimes. While Bruno died of a heart attack in prison in 2002, Bianchi continues to serve his sentence in the Washington state. The Gilgo Beach serial killings was a series of murders between 1996 till 2011 in which the remains of 11 people were found in Gilgo Beach, located on the south shore of Long Island, New York. Most of the known victims were workers who advertised on Craigslist. The perpetrator in this case is known as the Gilgo Beach serial killer. The victims' remains were found over a period of months in 2010 and 11 after the disappearance of one victim resulted in a police search of the area along the Ocean Parkway near the remote beach towns of Gilgo and Oak Beach. The remains of 4 victims, designated the Gilgo 4, were found within a quarter-mile of each other near Gilgo Beach in December 2010. 6 more sets of remains were found in March and April 2011. Police believe the latter set of remains predate the 4 bodies found in December 2010. Remains were found a year after the remains of the Gilgo 4 were discovered. The cause of deaths remained contested, with police claiming accidental drowning, while an independent autopsy determined possible strangulation. In July 2023, a resident of Massapequa Park on Long Island was arrested in Midtown Manhattan. This resident was known as Rex Werman. He was charged with the murders of 3 of the Gilgo 4 victims. He was also named the prime suspect in the murder of the 4th of the Gilgo 4. In January 2024, it was announced that Werman would be charged with the murder of the final Gilgo 4 member. The Alphabet Murders, also known as the Double Initial Murders, are unsolved series of child murders which occurred between 1971 and 1973. It claimed the life of 3 children victims. All 3 victims were aged 10 to 11, whose surnames began with the same letter as that of her first name. Each victim had been murdered either manual or legitimate sheer strangulation before her body was discarded in or near a town or village near Rochester with a name beginning with the same letter as the victim's name.